So I apologise that it looks a little bit unfinished now because I totally forgot to do this little part of the video, and I took my wig off and I've tied everything away because I'm in full on tidy mode. So anyway, this is inspired by all those kind of pop art sort of makeup tutorials that are out there. There are so many of them. Some of them put red dots, some of them white dots, some all over the face, some not at all, some on half. I want to do something a bit different. I couldn't find anybody who'd done anything other than kind of standard pop art. So I wanted to do a pop art vampire since this is 13 Days of Horror, and I couldn't find anybody that had done it. But if you have heard of somebody, please do mention it in the comments below. Obviously I've not copied them because I couldn't find anything myself, but I just kind of went off a couple of people's videos on where to kind of put markings and stuff. The best person I've ever seen do it is Made You Look by Lex. She did great kind of pop art thing, and that's where kind of I got this idea of this mark here. Obviously everybody kind of does the tears under the eyes, but also I added in the fangs and the blood from the fangs, and I added in a bite mark because, you know, somebody turned me into a vampire. I didn't fill this part in here. I kind of wanted to add a different shape to my face, and I didn't fill that part in there just because I had a wig on. So as you will have seen in the beginning of the video, I had a blue wig. I chose blue because I was going to go for either black or red, but I felt because I had black, red and white going on my face, I thought I'd go for a really bright pop of colour, and I thought the blue would go really well with that, and kind of the hairstyle itself I thought went really well with that too. So that's the reason I went for the blue, but it goes really well with the red as well. But yeah, so we've got a little bit of detailing on the neck, not a lot because when I go over the top I did add the bite in, which I thought would be just something a bit extra. And then I've got the fangs of the blood, and instead of crying tears, she's crying blood. She's a vampire. I know they probably don't cry blood. Do vampires even cry? But I just thought it would be cool, instead of having the tears, just to have blood instead, and then a tear here. Yeah, it's got some contouring even, and yeah, I really like how it turned out. The only thing that I will say is the dots. I couldn't get precise dots, and if I was to do this again, I'd probably get one of those nail art tools, because as I was doing it I was kind of thinking, I wish I had those kind of dotters that they use on people's nails, because you would get a precise dot every time, which is the whole purpose of those nail dotting tools. So I would have used a nail dotting tool and got all of the dots to look more uniform, because they're slightly different sizes. But I like the way that the sort of the shape of the spaces where the dots are, and the kind of direction across the face, taking it across rather than just doing a half. So that's it really, that's it for today's 13 Days of Horror. I really hope you've enjoyed it, something a bit different, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Until then, keep on screaming. Good night. Good night. Bye. So I'm starting off fresh faced here. Yes, here we go. So I've got on foundation, and I'm just applying some of the Ghost powder just to kind of brighten up the skin tone and the face, just to give it a more wider finish. I'm using face paints to do all of the detailing on the face, or at least most of it. So this is actually a Snazaroo black face paint, and I'm using a Sigma eyeliner brush. I just wanted something that was very fine so I could get a lot of control. This is one that's got kind of the bent end of the brush, which makes it just easier to kind of get those more precise lines, particularly when working from the front at this angle. So here I'm just kind of creating the brows. I'm just taking like softer, shorter strokes. I want it to look like it's been drawn by pencil, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And then I just took one of the Sigma FX brushes to draw a line around my face, because, you know, when you draw people, you draw the shape of their face, so I definitely wanted to have that line. Though I kind of felt that it probably was for the most part not going to be visible under the wig. I just thought that I would do it because it's a part of the whole sort of look, and I just thought it would finish it off better. Now I'm just adding in some contour, because, you know, you've got to have contour, and I'm just adding that in with the same brush, just a black line underneath the cheekbone and a little bit of shading with shorter strokes underneath it. So next I'm going to add in a line on the nose. Again, I've gone back to the finer brush so I can get that nice thin line. And I just kind of learned where to put some of these lines just by watching various videos of other people doing these pop art videos. Everybody does it slightly different. And then I went on and put some lines on the nose, one on the front and then around the edges of the nose. And then I put the line on the forehead, which is something that Made You Look by Lex did. And I really liked how it looked. It kind of makes you look quite concerned. So I like that line. For some reason the camera wasn't working at that point and I hadn't realised, so I apologise. But all I've gone on to do here is add a teardrop under one eye, some tears under the other eye that are kind of like all sort of dripping down, and I've started the teeth. So that's all I've done, but I'm using the same brush, and all I'm doing here is I'm using the Snazaroo white paint and I'm just adding that in. When it came down to it later on, I wish I'd kind of curved the teeth a little bit more and had a little bit more shape to them. They did end up coming out quite straight, but I think you live and you learn, and I would definitely revisit this look and redo it again. It's just something that happened, and at the end of it I did really like what I'd done, but I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I kind of just wish they were a little slimmer and a little more curved at the bottom. Other than that, I didn't think they were too bad. I actually found this part really quite difficult. That is one huge vampire tooth. So I go on to add the other one in. And this is all about layering really, because I've actually, this is the other thing I forgot to say, I've got on a liquid lipstick here so it's nice and matte. It's easier to paint on top of. If it was glossy then there would be mixing of the two mediums together, so you can either use like a red face paint to do your lips, or you can use like a liquid matte lipstick. This is Lime Crime's Red Velvet, dries nice and matte, so there was no mixing and it stays put. And then it was easy for me to paint the white on top of that. I did need to layer the white a little bit just to cover that red, but that was okay. Next I'm going on to use the Freedom Gel Eyeliner in black. I'm just applying that to the lash line, and then I decided to put some in the crease and bring it down to the corner of the eye, just to kind of make it look like I had a drawn on eyeshadow. So I thought it would look quite effective, and I did actually quite like the end result. It doesn't look so great here, but once you add a little bit more colour in, it does look a lot better. Next I'm taking Snazaroo red face paint on another Sigma FX brush, and I'm just dabbing that red face paint in there because I kind of toyed with the idea of doing blue tears, but then I thought if I'm going to do a pop art vampire I might as well go and do red and kind of have it as if the eye is bleeding. I thought that would look really effective. Plus I thought it would be quite nice to keep all of the face colours like red, black and white. Next I went on to use the Freedom Eye Quad from the Vamp Noir set. This one is the red eyeshadow, and using a kind of domed, kind of very dense blending brush, I just added this to that black line that I had created in the crease. I just thought I would have like a little bit of colour. It looks like it's kind of been shaded on with a pencil, and I just thought that little bit of colour would look really quite good around the eyes. So next I took a black liner. This is again the Freedom Gel Eyeliner in black and that same Sigma brush, and I just outlined the lips. So again, kind of taking some shorter strokes so it did look quite drawn on, but still at the same time trying to make it precise, if that makes sense. I did want them to look quite nicely defined. And actually the black outline with the red lips, I thought it actually looked really quite nice. But you can see there how that bent brush just makes it easier to just get a bit more precise control, particularly when you're working in small areas like that. So next I outlined the teeth, and at this time I had the opportunity to kind of sort of make them a little bit narrower by using that black line on the inside of the white paint rather than the outside. If I'd gone along the outsides of the white paint then the teeth would have been bigger, but instead of doing that I went actually on top of the white paint to slim the teeth down slightly. Hey presto. I think they actually look quite good at this point. Then I wanted to add on just a drop of blood off one tooth, as if I've just bitten somebody. And then I put a tiny little bit of blood detail on the bottom of the other tooth. because you could have just done the one drop, but I thought, well, if you've bitten somebody and you've got blood dripping off one tooth, then you're going to have blood on the other tooth as well. And then I just added the red face paint in on those. Little dance. Right, okay, next I used the Freedom Gel Liner from, actually this is the Vamp Noir kit. The black liner was from the Black Swan kit. This is actually just the red gel liner, and I added it along the lash line, and then I added it in on the tiers as well underneath the eyes, just to add a bit more depth. It's a really nice coloured red. It's not a really dark red, it's actually quite bright, and it did look quite nice along that black line. I just thought it almost looked like somebody had drawn that on, and it just added to that whole red colour of the eyes. Next I used a little bit of that red also onto the contour line, using another Sigma FX brush. Just very, very lightly. I didn't want to add a lot of colour, but I just thought it would look quite nice. Next I lined the waterline, and I used a black pencil for this. I believe the one I'm using here is the Pixie one that came in the QVC Tilly box that I actually showed on my beauty channel recently, and this just looks really good because it makes the eyes look even more drawn on, like they are completely outlined in black. Next I went on to do the dots. This was an absolute nightmare. I think most of my footage was of me putting the dots on, taking them off, putting them on, taking them off. I just could not seem to get like very uniform dots. As I mentioned in the intro, in the future I think if I did this to do this one again, I'd get a nail sort of art tool that has the little dotter on the end. I think you'd get more even dots that way. But what I decided to do was, rather than do half the face or the whole face, I just thought I'd do something a little different and kind of make almost sort of a pattern kind of going diagonally across the face. I just thought it would be something a little bit different. I've not seen anybody else do it, but then I've not seen anybody else do the pop art style vampire either, so I just thought it would be, since I'm doing something different, I thought it'd be quite good to kind of keep those dots very different as well. And that's the dots completed right across the face. I like how it turned out. I thought it was something really quite different. I didn't really want to do the whole face with that. Next, using that same Sigma brush from before, I just filled in a little bit more of a black outline around the face. And then on with the wig. As you can see here, another thing where the camera cut out was just the lines on the neck. Just a couple of lines on the collarbone, one coming down the neck. Just to add just something, a little bit of detail on the neck rather than just have it completely just on the face. I thought it looked really good with this wig. I liked the blue pop of colour rather than go for a red wig or a black one. I just thought the blue was actually something quite pop art and cartoony. It just took it to a kind of different level, adding that different pop of colour. And then I decided to add some more of those little white dots, the pesky things, and put them on my neck. I am using the Snazaroo white face paint for this, and I'm just using the bottom end of a brush. And I just thought I'd put a little bit on the neck, taking it down to that line, kind of like in an almost sort of triangular sort of shape. And then another part where the camera had cut out. I'm having huge problems with this camera at the moment, so I do apologise, but I just drew 2 round circles on the neck and some blood sort of shape coming down from that, and then added in red face paint. Then here you can see me adding the white Snazaroo paint on here just to add some highlights to those areas. So a little bit of white on all of the blood drops, and then I do add a little bit of white onto the lips as well, so it just looks like there's some kind of shine and reflection and a highlight on some of those points, because blood is shiny. So and I added some to the lip area as well, which I thought looked quite good, particularly since if you've just bitten somebody, you'd probably have some of that blood on your lips. And I think that definitely finished the look off really, really well. Sometimes it's just those small touches, they seem insignificant, but they're such small touches that make such a difference. as you can see, that is the finished look. Hope you've enjoyed today's video, guys, and I hope that you're going to enjoy this series of 13 Days of Horror. I'll see you all tomorrow, and until then, keep on screaming. Bye.